So what determines how consumers decide who to buy from? It's all about perception. What a consumer does is they actually look at what the need is that they're trying to fulfill. They look at all the different options that are available, and then they decide in their mind what they perceive to be the best option moving forward. So here's the question. If purchases, for the most part, are made on perception, what is the perception that your target audience, the people that you are trying to get to buy from you, what is their perception on your brand? But more importantly, what is the perception on your competition? That's what we're going to go over in this video. So if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Read the caption below to find out how you can be a part of our exclusive business training membership. And we'll be right back after the intro. All right, so picture this. Let's say I need to go out and get a pair of jeans. What exactly determines what pair of jeans that I am actually going to buy? Obviously, I could go to the mall. I can go to various stores. I have an unbelievable selection that I can choose from. I'm very fortunate here in the U.S. when it comes to purchases, and we can decide exactly what product we want to buy. So what determines what do I choose? So for me personally, what I look for when I get a pair of jeans, it is obviously price is number one. That's important to me. And also durability. So I want something that's inexpensive, but I also want something that I can actually use for a while. But that's my personal preference. Your personal preference might be something completely different. So what is your personal preference? What do you go through when you're deciding to buy a pair of jeans or a pair of pants or clothes? For some people, maybe they're looking for prestige, so they want an exclusive or luxury brand name. Maybe some people, they're looking for fashion, so they want a style that's extremely trendy. But notice what we're doing here, and this is the important thing. Different people have different preferences. And when we're talking about style, right, what is style? What I might find stylish, you might not find stylish. And I definitely might not find what you find stylish to be stylish, all right? So it's all in the eyes of the beholder. And this is what we call perception. You see, when we're talking about business, consumers most of the time will buy based on perception. Let me give you another example. Let's say it's a date night and I'm taking my fiance to a restaurant on the town. And I want to have a nice, fancy, exclusive evening where we're going to have a real nice dinner and a nice night out. What determines what the best restaurant is for this date night, right? What determines what restaurant has the best food? What determines what restaurant has the best ambiance? What determines what restaurant has the best staff or the best service? Again, we're going back to perception. What I perceive to be the best and to be the best for this environment might be completely different from what you decide is the best or is the best environment, right? So that's what we're going to talk about in this video right here is we have to understand, now that we have identified who our competition is, our direct competitors, our indirect competitors, as well as our substitutes. That's what we did in the last video. Now what we need to do is we need to be able to understand, okay, now we know who is competing for the same group of people. Now let's put ourselves in those people's shoes and ask, okay, what exactly is it that they're going through and what is their mind frame when they're looking to make a purchase? Because if we can be in line with that, better than the competition, then maybe we have a better chance at getting the sale. All right. So here's one of the first things we need to think of is this right here. Customers buy with who they perceive to be the best option. All right. Customers buy with who they perceive to be the best option. Now, we got to ask ourselves the main question. Okay. So if customers buy with who they perceive to be the best option, what determines what is the best option? Here's something that's really interesting, and this is something you definitely want to take note of. You're going to find this interesting too. How do customers decide what to buy? How do customers decide what the best option is? How do customers perceive what the best option is, right? There's 5 main criterias. Now, of course, there can be a million, don't get me wrong, but these are good rules of thumb, all right? So number 1 is price. A lot of people will decide where to go based on price. Some people are saying, I don't care what the price is, give me the highest quality, let me go there. But for the most of us, we pretty much have a price in mind. For special nights or special occasions or special purchases, we might be willing to pay a little bit more. On more casual elements, we might want to pay a little bit less. So everyone has a price level. So that's the first thing that decides what we buy is price. And this goes back to the value formula. Most of the time, people are willing to pay if they find value in what they're purchasing. Now remember, value is what I get minus what I give. So if someone feels like they are getting more than what they actually have to pay to receive it, most of the time they would be willing to make that purchase. But if they feel what they're paying is not worth what they're getting, and again, this is perception. This is all in the mind of the target audience. If they feel they're not getting their money's worth, they're not going to shop, right? So that's the first thing is price. The consumer has to believe that what they're paying is worth what they're getting. That's decision number 1. Next thing is performance. This can be quality. This can be the quality of food. This can be durability of the product. This could be the different features of the product. This could be how the product performs. This could be going to Texas Roadhouse and getting cinnamon butter bread rolls, or going to Olive Garden and getting unlimited salad and breadsticks. This could be the way that your car runs, or the way your car feels, or the different features that your car has, all right? That all has to do with performance. Is the product that you're buying in line with all the competitors? What competitor's product or what competitor's solution will perform best in your eyes, in your perception, in line with the price? Does that make sense? All right, social. This doesn't appeal to everyone, but this goes back to status. We don't buy a Rolex to tell time. I always use that. We buy a Rolex to buy status, to show luxury, to show different elements of wealth, right? That's why someone buys a Rolex, to signify success. Is there an element of status in the product? Some people do not want to buy clothes at Walmart. I am perfectly happy buying clothes at Walmart. No shame whatsoever. Some people only buy designer brands. Some people could care less about designer brands. They'd rather buy something that's a lot more cost effective, right? It's all in the eyes of the consumer. Next is physical accessibility. So obviously, if you're in San Francisco and you have a store in San Francisco and individuals in South Carolina, they're not flying to your store, all right? And if you only do in-person sales, most likely that person is not going to do business with you. If you are in a downtown district and there's construction and there's no way to get to your establishment, that could hinder exactly how people do business with you, right? So that's what we're talking about. Physical accessibility. I always say, trust me, there's plenty of restaurants in Italy I would love to go to on a weekly basis. I would happily patron at those places on a weekly basis. I live in Greenville, South Carolina. I can't go to Italy every single week. So though I will enjoy it the few times I do go to Italy, obviously I don't have that accessibility on an ongoing basis, all right? And then finally is convenience. We've all experienced a time where we've actually gone to a store and we had every intention on buying something. It was in the cart. We were going to check out. But then the lines in the different registers were just astronomical and we didn't feel like waiting 15, 20 minutes to check out, so we left, right? We've all had that experience. We've all had the experience where we're about to buy something online, but the checkout process was just so confusing and so hard and so difficult that we just abandoned the cart, all right? So what are we doing up until this point? It's really important for you to understand where we are conceptually. Number one, consumers buy on perception. They will buy what product they perceive to be the best. Now, the reason why I say perceive, because if you go back to jeans and durability and price, Do I really know what pair of jeans has the absolute best price for what you're getting right now? No, of course not. I'll probably look at a couple of stores, and that's my sample. Do I really know what pair of jeans is the utmost, most durable? And is there a math equation I'm actually doing to find out what for the prices? It's perception. When I go to a restaurant for a date night, is there a magic formula I'm doing to see what the best location is? No. It's perception. What do I perceive in my mind, in my preferences, to be the best decision for me to fulfill my needs? It's perception. So number one is consumers buy based on perception. And that's what determines if they buy from you or your competition. So that's number one. Number two, okay, what is this perception made of? Where does this perception come from? And it's these 5 criteria: price, performance, social status, physical accessibility, and convenience. Now, for some people, price is the most important, and that supersedes everything else. For some people, performance is the most important. That supersedes everything else. Some people, social status is the most important. That supersedes someone else. If your store is down, your store is down. Or if there's no one next to you, or if the consumer does not live near you and doesn't have access to your business, they're not doing business with you, right? That's just common sense. If you make your business or doing business with you inconvenient, that could determine the factor, okay? So these things right here all determine what product consumers are willing to buy and what competitor or yourself they're willing to buy from, okay? It's also important to understand, which we've pretty much already talked about, is this is based on different segments in different situations, right? If I am actually in the rush in between meetings, I've been on the go all day long, I need something quick and fast to eat, I'm driving by McDonald's. I personally am not a McDonald's person, but there's nothing else around me, and I have to hurry up and get something to eat before the next meeting. Okay, I'll probably go to McDonald's. That's the situation. If it's a date night, obviously that is a completely different situation. Or if I actually have time to plan of where I want to go out to eat, that will be a different situation, okay? So you have to understand that consumers all have different preferences, all have different perceptions. Your segments have different perceptions, and you have to know what they value the most, all right? So how do your consumers perceive your competition? More importantly, how do they perceive you? When they're looking at the competition, or if they're looking at the different solutions to fill their need, in their mind, now this could not be accurate, and I can't tell you how many times I have people, well, I got the best prices around, how come I'm not getting any business? Yeah, but does the consumer know that? Do they fully, well, they should just know that. No, they don't know that. Are you doing a good job and you're running your business to let them know you have the best prices, right? Some people might say, well, I got the best coffee in town. And yeah, it's the best coffee to you, but is it really the best coffee to the consumer? Maybe there's something about your business they don't like, right? We got to find that stuff out. It's not your perception. It's the segment that you chooses perception. What is their perception about the competition? What is their perception about you? Who do they decide is the best option for them to actually fulfill their products and services? And again, how do they decide it? Right here. Price, performance, social status, physicality, accessibility, and convenience. All right? So now that we understand this, right? We understand that consumers will buy based on perception. We know what perception is based on those 5 elements: price, convenience, performance, so on and so forth, right? So what do we do? So what we need to do is we need to understand the competitive positioning, right? And what I mean by competitive positioning is we need to understand, in the eyes of the segments we choose, what do they think about the price of each one of your competitors as well as yourself? What do they perceive to be the performance of every single competitor you have as well as yourself? When I say performance, I mean by capability to fulfill their needs. The features that you offer, the durability, the quality, reliability, all that stuff, right? What do they think about the status of your company? Obviously, McDonald's status is going to be a lot different than your local steakhouse, right? So what we need to do is we need to actually be able to map out exactly who our competitors are, and more importantly, who are our competitors and where do they rank in their perception eyes of our target audience, all right? So competitive positioning does a number of things for us. Number one, it helps us identify what companies come to mind when a consumer wants to buy, right? So if a consumer says, hey, date night, okay, what restaurants come to mind? If a consumer says jeans, what jean companies come to mind? If a consumer says professional services, what companies come to mind? Those are the things that we need to understand. And we need to understand, are you coming to mind, or is your competition come to mind? Or are both of you coming to mind, all right? How does that process look like? Also, we need to understand is how the consumers perceive each competitor differently, right? So how do they rank mentally and most likely subconsciously? How do they rank the different competitors that you're competing with in this industry? How do they rank them on the price, on performance, and all that stuff? What's interesting, and this is really fascinating, we're going to get into this in future videos in this series. It will be in this series. But I find this just so fascinating because once we start mapping out the positioning of our competition in the eyes of our customer, right? Once we start doing that, now all of a sudden we start to be able to paint a picture of what the high competitive areas are in your marketplace. What areas in your marketplace are actually saturated with competition? What areas in the marketplace actually have very little competition? And here's the really most important one. We call this gaps in the marketplace. What areas in the marketplace are wide open? No one's even touching them. Completely 100% wide open. And is that an opportunity for you? It might be, it might not be. Who knows? But it's just interesting to be able to strategically map this out. All right? So here are our tasks. So what do we do? What we're trying to do in this video is we're trying to actually map out the positioning of our target audience in the perception, in the mind of our consumer. All right? So task number one. What we need to do is we need to identify two features. And these are the two most important features that your target audience is looking for when they make a purchase, right? I just gave you 5 different areas that you can choose from. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to actually look at your buyer persona for your segment. Also look at those 5 different criteria of decision making when they're about to make a choice, make a purchase. And try to understand what are the best 2 features. Now you might be like, oh, dude, what the heck is he talking about? Let me show you some examples, right? Maybe this will help clarify. So if you're going to a restaurant, what's going to determine what restaurant you go to? Maybe it's price. Maybe it's ambiance. Maybe it's experience. It could also be the ambiance. Did I say ambiance already? It could be the cuisine that it is. Maybe you're just in the mood for Italian. Maybe you're in the mood for Chinese, all right? These are all different features that you can choose from when you're deciding what restaurant to go to. So what decides out of all these different options, what are the 2 most important, right? Let's just say, for example, it's price and healthy. Summer's coming up. You want to live, try to be on a healthy diet. So you're going to do price and health, all right? That's 2 options, right? It's up to you. Jeans, it could be price, could be fit, could be style, could be durability. Again, same exact thing. In the eyes of your target audience, and look at the buyer persona to see what's most important to them. In the eyes of your target audience, what are the 2 most important criteria, the 2 most important features that will determine who they choose and who they buy from, okay? Hotel, it could be price, could be amenities. Maybe you're traveling with families, so you want to have kid-friendly amenities. Maybe you're traveling with pets, and you're going to make sure the hotel is pet-friendly. Maybe you are traveling on the highway, and you need to make sure that you have a hotel that's accessible from the highway, all right? Business training. Could be price. It could be delivery. What I mean by delivery is maybe it only is delivered and accessible through online formats. Maybe it's in person. Maybe it's in live events. Maybe it's in live groups. Maybe it's one-on-one, right? What is the delivery? And then level. What is the level of expertise? Is it only for beginners? Is it for advanced business pros? Is it for moderates, right? These are some things to think of. Every business in every segment is different. What are the two most important features, most important attributes to your target audience? Now, of course, there are other variables. I get that, and I do get it is situational. For the most part, what is the most important elements that they choose from? So for me in my business, number one is price, and number two, it's actionable tasks. My customers and the individuals, probably just like you who actually watch these video series, they want step-by-step guidance on how to act. Those are the two most important things. So that would be for me. What is it for you? It's your choice. And of course, you get some examples here, right? So now here's what we've done. We've identified 10 to 20 competitors, and now we've identified two elements, two features, two attributes that your segment of choice finds most valuable. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to assign a perception level to each competitor for each attribute, all right? And we're going to do it in the eyes of the consumer on a scale for 1 to 10, all right? I got to show you an example so you know what I'm talking about, all right? So let's say we're doing restaurants, okay? I have 5 restaurants right here. So I got McDonald's, Burger King, Chick-fil-A, Chipotle, Panera Bread, Subway, all right? The two most important attributes, I'm picking price and how healthy it is, all right? And then what I did was, on a scale from 1 to 10, I actually assigned a value. So price, you can see this ranges anywhere from 2 to 4. Health ranges anywhere from 2 to 7, all right? Now, you might be saying, hey, I disagree with some of the... Listen, again, it's perception. Do a survey of 100 people. Take the average. What do you get, right? Everyone's going to be different, but take the average. What do you get, right? This is just a sample thing, right? Here's 5 more competitors, or 6 more. You have Applebee's, TGI Fridays, Chili's. Let's say there's a local business near you that does whole fresh salads. That's like a salad bar, but it's all fresh ingredients. Let's say you have another local business that does all food directly from scratch. And then a third local business who is your high-end steakhouse, okay? So we got 12 competitors right here. So that's what we're talking about, all right? So how exactly do you find these values, right? You might be saying, okay, you listed 12 competitors, you put these values, like where these values come from. Here are a couple of things. Number one is you can, again, ask customers, hey, listen, do me a favor. You know, what are the two most important things in your mind when you're making a purchase, right? What are the two most important factors that will determine whether you buy or not, right? And write those down. And then ask them, you can really quick, and be like, hey, listen, you know what? I'll give you 10% off this purchase. Here's a list of 10 to 20 competitors. Just jot down in your own perception what level between 1 and 10 you think each one of these competitors are, right? You can ask your customers. Get 100 customers, do it electronically, have an iPad, and then it can average out it can calculate the averages right there on the spot, right? You could search online, look at reviews, see what other different companies are doing. There are actually research firms that will actually rank different companies based on perception, right? You could do a formal consumer research project, right, where you actually pay to have a formal consumer research project done. And then you can just guess. You can just assume if you actually know your marketplace, all right? Again, there are going to be different levels from different people. Just if you're talking to 10 people, take the average. 50 people, take the average. 100 people, take the average. You're going to get numbers all over the place. But take the average, and that will pretty much get to where you want to go, all right? Task 3. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. So we've identified 10 to 20 competitors. We've identified 2 of the top features or attributes that they are going to use to decide mentally as what they perceive to be the best option to buy. We have assigned a value of 1 to 10 to each one of our competitors based on those 2 features. And then finally, what we want to do in this video is we actually want to create a positioning map, okay? We actually want to map this out. So in the example I used, the food example I used right here, if I were to map it out, this is what I have, okay? So you actually have McDonald's, Burger King, Chick-fil-A down here. Up here you have a little bit of Subway, Chipotle, Panera Bread. Here's the local salad company, right? And you have all the different areas right here mapped out. Let me give you another example. So this is a fashion brand. Now this right here is from jeansaholic.blogspot.com. All right. I did take this from their site, so I want to make sure I give them credit for it. And this just shows you for jeans. So what they're doing is accessibility or exclusive. And what that means is it in stores very easily around you, or do you have to actually find some high-end stores in order to get it? And then trendy and classic. And you can see where these brands all fit right here, okay? So now you might be asking yourself, okay, that's great. I got this map. Now what do I do with it? That's what we're going to talk about in the next video, right? So now what we've done is we've identified our competition in the previous video. We've actually assigned, we've understand that people buy based on perception. We've identified one of the two most important perception points to your segment of your choice. We've identified different values of each perception point, each feature for each one of your competitors, and then we mapped it out, right? Great. It's a map. You've ever heard of positioning maps. Fantastic. I've heard of positioning maps all my educational life, but I never learned exactly, okay, what do you do with it? What exactly do you do with it? And that's what we're going to talk about in the next video. You see, these tools are highly valuable, and I want to make sure you understand exactly how to use it. Because these tools, what they're going to do is they're going to help you identify what categories are in your industry and what exactly categories are. They're going to help you identify what the high competitive areas are, what the low competitive areas are, and then where are the areas in the marketplace that people are not competing in, and is it that an opportunity for you? All right, so that's what we're going to talk about in the next video. Make sure you hit this lesson as completed. Move on to the next. Bible verse of the day, 1 Corinthians 12:6. There are varieties of effects, but the same God who works all good things in all persons, right? There are varieties of effects, but the same God who works all things in all persons. Obviously, what this is talking about from the biblical standpoint is there are people who are different. There are people who have different tasks. It talks about different assignments and different callings in life. And although that we are all different, we're all still working good things through different people, right? So what exactly is the parallel to what we're talking about here? The varieties of effects. Different segments are going to have different perceptions. Different segments are going to have different perceptions. And it's our job to understand the segments that we serve. What exactly is their perception? What is their perception on us, on our company? What is their perception on our competitors? And then what we need to do is we need to understand, okay, through all these perceptions, in the next video series, you're going to see there's a lot of good that can come out of it. And we can do a lot of good by trying to serve what these perceptions are. And we can do a lot of good trying to serve exactly what perceptions are currently not met and what perceptions can we actually meet in a much better way. All right, so that is today's lesson, guys. I hope you got something out of it. Next video is going to be a doozy. Next video is we're really going to ramp things up, so I hope you enjoy it. Have a good one.